this update for May 22, 2023, day 453 of the war, end of the date update. The only reason I'm doing update today is because there was this incursion of let's say Ukrainian forces into Russian territory in Belgorod region, and I just want to discuss that a little bit more in detail, as I think it's not an ordinary event, and I think it requires may mean some turning point in the war. So let's first look at what really happened this morning. So first of all, this is the area where the incursion happened. As you can see, this is was on the border. This is Belgorod region here, right? This is the capital of the region, Belgorod, and then Kharkiv is on the other side, on the Ukrainian side. So this incursion happened at the border crossing point, and so let's just kind of walk through and see what happened in the morning. So it was done, at least the declaration is that it was done by what I call here RDK, which means Russian Volunteer Corps, and also LSR, which is Legion Free Russia. So those are two units. Though they consist, is definitely not a legion, and this is definitely not a corps. These are small size units. I think the total size of both together is not more than a company. They were supported by heavy equipment, including tanks, which probably were provided by Ukrainian army. But these two units consist of Russian who sort of want to change political situation in Russia. So the Russian volunteers in the Ukrainian army. And that's part of the reason politically why it's been done this way is because nominally Ukrainian forces are not doing incursion into Ukrainian army, not doing incursion into Russia, and it's done more of this Russian forces that are opposing current political regime in Russia. So this is obviously, as you can imagine, done for political reasons, and it's just cover up, right? There's no doubt that this is part of the bigger sort of game, bigger picture, and this is unfortunately a typical approach that how, let's say, Soviet Union was doing invasion of other countries. I know other imperial forces were doing something similar. But for example, Soviet Union did the same with the during Soviet-Finnish War in 1939-1940. There was also created Red Finnish government, and so then the forces were invading Finland. Based, they were sort of representing Red Finns, and the actual legitimate Finnish government will call it White Finnish government. So this is unfortunately, analogies that were borrowed by Ukrainian command, and I don't think they're really healthy. It's not, not how it's supposed to be. However, at the same time, this is war, and Russia invaded Ukraine, so there is no reason for Ukraine not to do similar to achieve its goal of freeing its own territory. So it's, let's put this way, fair game at this point. So what really happened here, as you can imagine, this incursion forces. They first crossed the border actually right across this crossing point, which was extremely poorly defended, and effectively Russian border guards they retreated without putting much resistance. This forces, I'll call them Ukrainian forces going forward. They captured Bater 82A, which is a standard Russian army equipment, IFV, light skin IFV. with 30mm gun. So they captured that, and they actually captured one prisoner. Basically, one Russian soldier surrendered there. Then they advanced all the way to Grayvoron. This is a regional town here, because the rest of the villages them, and they were using obviously armored vehicles to quickly advance, to quickly move around and sort of create more panic basically into the Russian rear, which they obviously did. They were successful in that. They did not capture Grayvoron. They were sort of unconfirmed rumors. They went as far as this Novostroyevka Первая и Zamostya, those two villages. So they were basically roaming around in this, creating panic. So this was happening in the morning. Then later in the and that's actually, I want to actually make very very important point. So formally, Russian government spent, or at least the Belgorod region, they spent 10 billion Russian rubles to build defensive line along the border, and this is example of that line with all of this dragon teeth, or whatever they called, basically concrete pyramids, and which are essentially useless. And so you can see what happened, that this is useless unless you have actually troops that willing and capable of defending the border. And as you can see from this incursion, and what is the key takeaway is there is no essentially Russian troops on the other side of the border, and the rest of the Russian-Ukrainian border is extremely thinly defended by Russian troops. Effectively, everything what can fight has been pulled into the sort of active front line, and the rest is extremely exposed. And this is this Bataire that was captured. This is a Russian volunteer from Russian volunteer corps that was captured at that cross point. So what happened later? Russia pulled some kind of scramble, some troops, unclear what units and so on, but they scrambled some troops to the area. They actually brought in attack helicopters such as both Mi and Ka, and even Mi-8. And they were sort of obviously attacking Ukrainian side. Ukrainian side was getting support from artillery support from Ukrainian side, so they basically were putting screening fire where possible, but there was no goal to hold Grayvoron or these villages, and so they eventually retreated to Kazynka. This village, this is what was known, that it's still, at the end of the day, it was under Ukrainian or Russian volunteer control. And as I said, they are not more than a company, more like 80 to 100 person detachment. So this is essentially what happened in this whole situation. The importance of all of this is actually, and if we go back to this whole situation, is and probably even better look if we go back to the whole front line. So the importance of this is, obviously there are several key takeaways from this. First, Russian border is essentially not defended by any Russian troops, and they're extremely exposed. So this is known to Ukrainian side, and this is probably will be not the only incursion, because Russian side also reporting accumulation of Ukrainian troops here next to Shebekino, and then also here near Vovchansk. So this makes sense. The whole probably idea of all of this is to force Russian command to pull troops, from the front line, from the actual front line, pull them here, so that it's easier to penetrate Russian defensive lines for actual offensive. So this is most likely one of the main reasons for all of this. The second reason is more propaganda, which was sort of, in terms of, how to say, uh, optical effect, that was probably the most visible to everyone, because it created really shock in even Belgorod, where population started really fleeing the city. So there was quite a bit of panic there. The other part of it is it's a, in a way, psychological turning point for the Russian populations, for the Russian to realize that the war can be also on Russian territory. That for you reap what you sow, right? So it's in a way kind of like attacking Berlin in 1941, essentially, right? So it's in a way it's a psychological shock for the Russian population to realize, okay, the war can come to their home, and that's the biggest significance of this event. I don't know if this Russian detachment will stay there or they will retreat back to Ukrainian side. It's sort of unclear at this point. If there is desire to pull Russian troops from the front line, you probably would see more of this action and desire to stay there for as long as possible, because, as I said, it forces Russian command to pull from the actual front line, and which obviously weakening Russian defenses there. There is also third point here, and don't know to what extent that's real or not, but for propaganda purposes, it helps Ukrainian top to switch focus of Ukrainian population from loss of Bakhmut to this sort of this event, let's put this way, because I cannot call it a victory, but it's definitely something that's in some way psychologically it's extremely important and very symbolic, let's put this way. And the symbolism is probably in a way is the whole importance of this is the symbolism that the war can come to the Russian side as well. So that really helps Ukrainian sort of propaganda machine, Ukrainian political top and military top, to kind of like make Ukrainian people forget about the failure in Bakhmut. So that's essentially nutshell. I'll provide next update. We'll see what happens on the 23rd with all of this. So we'll learn more a little bit. But this is, and it's very clear also another point. It's part of the bigger sort of game that has started. We'll find out how it all unfolds when it unfolds. But it's very clear it's not isolated incident. It's not just for propaganda at this moment. This is a part of much bigger plan. In terms of, and then quick update for Bakhmut. In Bakhmut, it's fairly quiet. Wagner mercenaries stopped attacks. They're not attacking villages west of Bakhmut, so it's sort of unusually quiet there, let's put this way. It's just in a way day and night there, and there is another update in terms of how long they're gonna stay there. They basically stay away from the front line. The declaration by the Evgeny Prigozhin is that they will stay away for at least 2 months from the front line. They need to regroup, rebuild, and so on. So the earliest, based on their plans, obviously, we will see them back on the front line is probably going to be early August. And as I said before, if offensive unfolds successfully for Ukrainian side, they probably will be thrown into the battle as a firefighting team, even if they are not prepared, because that's just going to be sort of, how to say, defender of last resort for the Russian side. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and until next time. Bye bye.